Well, Donald Trump is facing a lot of questions now about his own charitable foundation. The New York Attorney General confirms the Trump Foundation is not registered in the state as a charity to solicit donations. The Washington Post broke the story, writing, under the laws in New York, where the Donald J. Trump Foundation is based, any charity that solicits more than $25,000 a year from the public must obtain a special kind of registration beforehand. Charities as large as Trump's must also submit to a rigorous annual audit that asks, among other things, whether the charity spent any money for the personal benefit of its officers. Let's get into the potential fallout here with A.B. Stoddard, associate editor and columnist with Real Clear Politics. Colleen McCain-Nelson is White House correspondent for the Wall Street Journal. A.B., Donald Trump has criticized the Clinton Foundation and the way it's been run. Is that line of attack closed to him now?
Well, if I were the Trump campaign, I would avoid it. I think there's plenty of fodder with the emails and the new sort of criticism and questions about how the FBI conducted their investigation into her email server, and the ones that were deleted, and the whole conduct of all of her staff, 5 of whom were given immunity. I think going to the foundation in his next debate, which is very important for Donald Trump, would be a mistake, because she'll be prepared to fire back with all of these questions about why a foundation that received so much money from other people. After 2008, Donald Trump really didn't give to his foundation, but he did spend other people's money on legal fees, for example, $258,000. So I think it's not a good road to go down. I think he should stick to attacks that really force her to answer something, something on Benghazi. But the Clinton Foundation and the Trump Foundation are apple and orange, but I think they both have a few stinky holes. So if I were him, I'd stay away from it.
Colleen, in terms of the effect on the voters, is this going to cost Donald Trump votes?
Well, in a normal campaign, this might matter, but as we've said over and over again, this is not a normal campaign, and we've learned a lot of troubling things about some of the Trump Foundation's practices, but Donald Trump has managed to avoid answering for that for a few different reasons. In part, A.B. raised the Clinton Foundation, and Trump has really gone after the Clinton Foundation, and he, for the casual voter, that person might conclude that both of these foundations are problematic. Whether they look into the details or not, they could just draw a broad conclusion, determine that both foundations were used to help further the candidate's ambitions. Trump has also said that the Washington Post is out to get him, the whole system is rigged, and his campaign has also pointed out that the Attorney General who's investigating him is a Democrat who supports Hillary Clinton. So they've just kind of swept this away, saying that the Attorney General is a partisan hack, and they haven't answered any questions about this and just kind of flatly declared it to be wrong. And so far, that seems to be working for Donald Trump. He has just kind of moved on from this issue without ever having to answer tough questions about his foundation.
Can the suggestion, A.B., that the Democratic Attorney General is simply trying to play politics with this, can that work? Can it deflect some of the issues facing the Trump Foundation?
Well, possibly. I just think there's a lot of noise this week for Donald Trump. He's picking a fight on Twitter with the former Miss Universe that has been in question since the debate. He's getting upset about, people from his campaign telling reporters that they were critical of his performance in the debate. He's got the story on whether or not he attempted to do business in Cuba during the embargo, questions about whether or not he wanted girls at a golf course in California who weren't pretty enough to be fired. There's a lot going on, and like I said, if he could stick to his message that would force Hillary to answer, questions about her ethical behaviors and her own political liabilities, he'd be better off. Whenever he tells the press they're dishonest and the story is fraudulent, the campaign actually never denies any of the specific allegations. You can ask people who've done investigations for the New York Times and the Washington Post. He'll rail against the reporter or the story, but he'll never ask for corrections and dispute any facts as untrue. So he can keep doing this and wasting what's now, day 39. But I think he needs to move back on to higher ground where he can just go after his opponent instead of defending all this stuff and making it worse.
He often says, Colleen, that the press is unfair or untruthful and that the whole system is rigged.
That's his overarching argument, and a lot of his supporters seem to agree with that, and so they kind of give him a pass. And so he's argued that the Washington Post is out to get him. He blacklisted the Washington Post for some time and wouldn't let their reporters attend his campaign events. And AB's absolutely right. He just blankly says that this is wrong without ever getting into the details, without ever answering any of the tough questions. And so it fits under the larger umbrella of his argument that the system is rigged. He creates this idea of us versus them, his supporters, his movement against the Washington establishment, against the media elite, and just kind of dismisses this out of hand. And so far, we've had a number of revelations about problematic decisions his foundation has made, and he hasn't answered for any of them.
Going to be fascinating to watch the next debate and see what comes up. Colleen McCain-Nelson from the Wall Street Journal, A.B. Stoddard, Real Clear Politics. Thank you.